Hello and welcome back to Alex Science Presents, where this week in the studio I have Statis from Beatnik here in the studio. How you doing, mate?
I'm good. How are you, Alex?
I'm not too bad, thanks. Your new single, which is called People Start Talking feat. Terri Walker, was released on the 14th of November. What has been the fan reaction of your new single, and what was the process like of making this track?
Fun is the first thing I'd say. We've known Terri for, I think, about 10 years. 2003 we met her. I think it was like her first album, and we've done bits and pieces, but then one day we were just like, you've got a bit of spare time, come and get in the studio. She's amazing. She's a brilliant singer and a great songwriter, so I kind of had a bit of a track laid out, but it was actually half the tempo that it ended up being, because after we recorded all the vocals and put things in, and we kind of pushed her into an area that she doesn't normally go into, so we kind of even were like, a little bit more ragga, a little bit more interesting kind of electronic style, and she just picked up on that straight away, and then I was like, right, I actually want to start double timing this because it sounds so much better with like really lots of energy, and when we perform it live, people just go crazy whether they've heard the track before or not, because there's just real energy and kind of a nice kind of reggae bass line that is underneath it, so the sub comes out really nicely when we do it live.
Yeah, awesome. And what has been the fan reaction of your new track?
Everyone's giving it a lot of love. I mean, it was used on TV for an advertising campaign recently for I don't know if I can say brands, but it was a big alcoholic drink.
Oh, okay.
They used actually 3 of our tracks and featured DJ Nikki, who can't be here today. They featured her in the advert as well, so that was running for quite a while. So we were like, we weren't actually going to put that record out at that point, but as soon as it got picked up and used on TV, we were like, we've got to jump on this. And so all of our fans have been really supporting it and loving it, and it's been getting a lot of play all over the country. So next step is hopefully take it to kind of the States and other places and see if we can break that a little bit.
Awesome. I was going to say it wouldn't be the new John Lewis ad that they've been using your songs on recently.
That's the Lily Allen one, isn't it?
I think so. I'm not too sure at the moment.
She's done the Keen track with like Animals of Farthing Wood. I'll save my opinion on that one.
Good plan. But what does 2014 have in store for Beatnik?
Okay, we've just shot our new video, which I think we're going to release early next year. No point trying to go up against any of the X Factor stuff that goes on at Christmas. It's just, you'll just be lost in that kind of deep ocean. We shot that with a guy called Tyson, who used to be in a band called Uncle Jam. Okay. That they were a real kind of, they were an amazing band, but it just happened that at the time Virgin changed all its management and they kind of split up, and so he's now on is it Backyard Recording that Beth Ditto's group are on, and so he's jumped on that track, done the vocals, and it's kind of the same tempo as the last one, really upbeat, and we got him to sing in a kind of nearly like a old cameo style. And we've just shot the video and he's doing crazy like Ian Jury style moves, so it's kind of it looks like the Blockheads have come back, and that's looking amazing. I've got like 2 amends on the video to shoot, so that's the start of 2014, and apart from that, live shows, making more music. We've got a lot of people booked into the studio as well that we've been having to push back because we've been doing so much promo.
Yeah. Oh, cool. I was going to say, in terms of the Blockheads, they are playing at the Jazz Cafe in December.
Really?
So if you want to kind of like throw him in there and be like, hey, you should join these guys, then that might be an idea.
They're one of my all-time favourite bands ever. They're some of the most amazing musicians I've ever seen, and I think they get a little underrated, as in kind of, oh, you're this post-punk kind of, well, actually pre-punk they were really, and seen as that 3-chord band, but in fact you see them live and they're doing crazy jam sessions and just running tracks. It's kind of like seeing Parliament. They just play. It started with one track and just evolved in that way that, you know, Sun Ra used to do that with his band. He'd start them off in the house just playing, they'd walk to the studio, keep evolving, and then just start recording in the studio and then go back to the house and still be playing the whole way. So I kind of love seeing bands that can do that, more so than seeing the bands nowadays where it's, let's replicate our radio single exactly. I like to have a bit of variance and something more interesting thrown in the mix.
And it would be quite funny to see a band kind of on the way to the studio during rush hour on the tube, just kind of jamming away.
Amazing.
That would just kind of make my week complete, to be honest. But in terms of influences who would you say are your influences personally and musically?
That's we get asked that so much, and we've literally sat there for about 20 minutes just reeling off people. I mean, it ranges from David Bowie to Big Daddy Kane to Al Green to Square Pusher to I loved drum and bass and jungle growing up, and that's kind of the first thing that I used to really go out to clubs and love. Nicky was a huge house and garage fan, and we used to go and see like Masters at Work do 13-hour sets where they'd be playing dubs and have live instrumentation and vocalists over the top. But then it goes all the way back to like original Toots and the Maytals, one of my all-time favourite bands. They're one of the only bands I ever actually pay to go and see live, which is bad. But I swear Toots could just sing without a microphone, and it's the most amazing sound you've ever heard. And that comes all the way through to much more modern bands like Major Lazer, we love, and loads of even the grime artists. Like we're working with Lady Leisha at the moment, and then we're working with kind of a Danish soul singer called Marie Dahlstrom, who we've been just doing loads of work with. So our influences are kind of everything, but for me, my all-time hero is Jimi Hendrix. That is the person that from kind of the day I was born until now I still listen to pretty much daily and read everything I can about him and watch everything I can. But also growing up with people like Adam Ant, just amazing, like the shows that he'd put on and the way he'd dress and style himself, and then into the New Romantics. I think growing up with all those different styles and the electronic stuff, and then hearing like Kraftwerk and then that being used for the original hip-hop breaks, I've just gone through the history of music and tried to soak up as much as physically possible. And we like to put a lot of those influences into all of our tracks.
So it's just kind of a whole mess of music ranging from Jimi Hendrix in the 60s running all the way through to grime artists now. That sounds just like, history of music in one artist. You could run your own music museum in an album.
It's a bit worrying when people start asking us questions, because we're far too obsessive, and I start talking about like, oh, when Pink Floyd did that in that little chord progression, or when Barrington Levy did that and then changed it, or someone's doing a 7/8 time signature there, and some people look at you like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So it's quite. I was actually talking to an editor the other day about how interesting it would be to. Everything he edits to is 4/4 all the time, and I was like, it would be really nice to try like editing to a 7/8 because it would give it a completely different feel. So just we're obsessed by music, and it's kind of what drives us to do what we do, because we can't not
be obsessed,
be making music all the time, because I just hear something, I'm like, oh, I want to steal that, or I want to do that, or a pastiche of it rather than actually stealing it completely. But I just hear things and I'm like, right, that's made me want to go and do that. And then people come to my house and I'm sitting there listening to like Square Pusher, and they're looking at me like, this music's a mess, and I'm like, no, this is the most genius thing I've ever heard, because he's taken like jazz rhythms and stuff and converted them into drum samplers. And when I found out that he made his first album without a computer, he did it on like reel-to-reels, programming it on an old drum machine. I'm like, this man is an absolute genius. And you see his live shows now where he's actually programmed, and I think him and Aphex Twin used to actually write algorithms to create music and stuff, which mathematically is well beyond me, but he has all his light shows that then sync into all the music that he's doing, and then you see him playing live 10-string bass, and he's just like, it's like seeing Mozart. It's the most virtuoso performance I've ever seen.
I haven't seen it, so I can't say. That sounds pretty
You've
cool.
never seen him play bass?
No.
I can send you even a YouTube video of him just practicing in his house, and your jaw just drops like, this is the most amazing musician ever. But because he's so artistic and takes it to another level, some people see that as even him not knowing what he's doing, and I'm like, no, he's taken it so far that it's like listening to jazz, where some people will even lose the beat and lose track of it.
It's just kind of experimental more than anything else. But what would you say has been the craziest moment that you have experienced as a DJ?
As a DJ, I don't know. A lot of it was spent being quite drunk, which was bad. I've given up drinking now to save my liver.
Probably a good idea.
Nick has a lot more experience DJing, because she does a lot more of it. She's toured the world with Khalees, and toured the world in her own rights and kind of played for Jay-Z and Beyonce and then opened massive shows across the world. I've spent a lot more time in the studio EQing kick drums and being quite boring, but the ones that always stand out are the ones that are bad memories, weirdly, like when people come up to you and annoy you.
Yeah.
And one time this woman just kept coming up asking for a song that we were never going to play because it wouldn't fit in the place. Everyone else would stop dancing, but she was so drunk and drinking red wine that she ended up kind of spitting it all on us, and we were just trying to get away from her, and in the end we were like, what do I do to get this woman to leave me alone? So it ranges from amazing, interesting, exciting things, like I was telling you before the show, we kind of went to a Puff Daddy party and I ended up getting thrown out for reasons I won't go into, and like Nick spent the evening going out with Tom Jones and partying with him, which to her was just amazing because he's a hero of both of ours. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff and a lot of good and bad times. Even I remember we were there with an MC once, a female MC, and one of the other DJs come up and stuck his tongue in her ear while she was MCing, and we were just like, the things you have to go through are quite surreal.
That's just kind of, what? Why would you do that?
I don't know, it was very strange, and he kind of then just scuttled off and we never saw him again, and we were like...
Probably for the best.
Yeah.
And if you could have any superpower, which one would you have and why?
Being a musician, I might have to say perfect pitch, but that's really boring.
Well, we had one musician who was a bassist say the power to play bass. So it could be a musical power.
Yeah,
if you want
I'm trying to think, what would I love to be able to do? I've always wanted to fly. I've always had dreams where I'm trying to fly and somehow managing it, and a lot of the time when I dream I wake up thinking I can still do these things. So if one day I end up like flat on a pavement somewhere, you'll go, it makes sense.
Yeah. Or if just like you kind of go, I can fly, and you just start flapping your wings, just jumping out of the window and going, wait, no, I still can't fly.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. Apart from that, I don't know. I have an affinity with dogs, so maybe that just is my superpower.
to have an affinity with dogs.
Yeah, they seem to like me everywhere I go, so I just make friends with animals all the time, and it's quite nice because a lot of other people, I see them getting like harassed or attacked, and I'm like just straight away friends with all the animals.
So you are Dr. Dolittle.
Yeah, or the Pied Piper of Hamlyn, maybe.
But on that note, I will we'll wrap up the interview here. A massive thank you for coming down into the studio, and I hope to see you again soon.
Wicked, anytime.